Hydrogen cars versus EVs, the cleanest cars on the road revealed. Hydrogen vehicles have officially claimed the title of the cleanest cars on the road, surpassing electric vehicles, EVs, in a comprehensive study conducted across Europe. This groundbreaking report reveals that cars powered by green hydrogen emit fewer pollutants throughout their entire lifespan compared to any other vehicle type, including battery-operated cars, hybrids, and traditional petrol or diesel models. This development marks a significant triumph for hydrogen technology and suggests that the future of eco-friendly driving may not be what we previously envisioned. The study, published in July 2025 by the International Council on Clean Transportation, ICCT, the same independent organization that uncovered the Volkswagen diesel emissions scandal in 2014, examined various car types sold in the EU this year. It assessed the total pollution generated over a standard 20-year lifespan, taking into account not only the emissions from the exhaust but also the pollution produced during the manufacturing of the vehicle, the generation of its fuel, and its eventual recycling. Ultimately, hydrogen cars emerged as the frontrunners, producing a mere 50 grams of carbon emissions per kilometer. This figure is even lower than that of battery electric vehicles, which registered 52 grams when charged with 100% renewable energy. However, there is a crucial caveat: hydrogen vehicles achieve these impressive low emissions only when utilizing clean, renewable hydrogen sourced from wind or solar energy. If they rely on hydrogen derived from fossil fuels, known as gray hydrogen, their emissions can more than triple. Thus, the source of the fuel is just as important as the vehicle itself. Fortunately, the availability of clean hydrogen is on the rise across Europe. Companies like H2 Mobility are entering agreements to provide only certified renewable hydrogen, and new refueling stations equipped with green hydrogen systems are being established. The European Union is also advocating for the use of green hydrogen in transportation, supporting it with funding and regulatory measures. However, hydrogen vehicles have not yet gained significant traction in the United States, primarily due to the scarcity of hydrogen refueling stations. While battery electric vehicles remain a very clean option, they do come with a higher initial carbon footprint, largely due to the energy-intensive process required to manufacture their batteries. According to the ICCT, it takes approximately 17,000 kilometers, 10,563 miles, of driving for an EV to offset its emissions. Nevertheless, EVs still produce 73% fewer emissions than internal combustion engine, ICE, vehicles over their entire lifespan, making them a viable choice from an environmental perspective. In conclusion, both electric and hydrogen vehicles are poised to play vital roles in reducing pollution on our roads. For the time being, however, hydrogen cars powered by renewable energy sources are officially recognized as the cleanest vehicles available. Stay informed about the latest advancements in supercars, hypercars, and innovative technologies by clicking the star icon next to supercarblondie.com in Google search. The news about EVs was bright, but now the future is so uncertain. The electric vehicle, EV, revolution once seemed unstoppable, with headlines glowing about its promise to transform our roads and reduce environmental harm. But now, the future of EVs is shrouded in uncertainty, leaving many to wonder, what went wrong? And more importantly, can we still steer this ship toward a greener horizon? Just a short while ago, the news about EVs was undeniably bright. We were on the cusp of a tipping point, where gas-guzzling cars would finally take a back seat. In states like Colorado and Washington, the goal of achieving 30% new EV sales by 2026 felt within reach. Used EVs were poised to regain their resale value, making the market more robust. The average price of a new EV in the US had dropped by 7.4% since January 2023, and utilities were even reporting increased revenues from EV adoption, leading to lower electric rates for everyone. It seemed like the stars were aligning for a cleaner, more sustainable future. But here's where it gets controversial: despite these advancements, the road ahead for EVs is far from smooth. While the transition to electric mobility undeniably reduces environmental pollution, boosts public health, and cuts fossil fuel consumption, barriers persist. Mass consumer acceptance remains a challenge, and policy shifts in the US are casting a shadow over the industry. For instance, the removal of key incentives like the $7,500 tax credit for new EVs and the $4,000 credit for used EVs threatens to stall momentum. As CleanTechnica editor Zachary Shahan aptly puts it, these changes make the US market less predictable, less stable, and less trustworthy for businesses. And this is the part most people miss: while the US grapples with policy uncertainty, Europe is charging ahead. A groundbreaking study by the International Council on Clean Transportation, ICCT, reveals that battery electric cars sold in Europe today emit nearly 4 times less greenhouse gases, GHGs, over their lifetime compared to gasoline cars. Even when factoring in production, these EVs produce 73% less life cycle GHG emissions, a 24% improvement over 2021 estimates. This progress is driven by Europe's cleaner electricity mix, which amplifies the climate benefits of EVs. But why isn't the US keeping pace? The answer lies in a clash of interests. Fossil fuel subsidies, which totaled $7 trillion globally in 2022, continue to distort the market. The IMF highlights that 80% of global coal consumption was priced below half its efficient level in 2022. Full fossil fuel price reform could slash global CO2 emissions by 43% by 2030, yet political will remains elusive. In the US, policies like those under the Trump administration have rolled back environmental restrictions, allowing manufacturers to produce vehicles that emit more pollutants. This raises a critical question: are we prioritizing short-term economic gains over long-term sustainability? Here's the silver lining: despite these challenges, the global EV revolution is far from over. EV sales are at record highs, while combustion vehicle sales continue to decline. Technological advancements, such as faster charging batteries and safer long-range chemistries, are making EVs more desirable than ever. Low-cost charging infrastructure is expanding, and electric buses, trucks, and freight equipment are proving cheaper to operate and maintain. Even in the US, 13 states and Washington, D.C., have achieved over 10% EV market share, a testament to the growing appeal of electric mobility. But here's the thought-provoking question: as the rest of the world embraces EVs, will the US risk being left behind? Or will policymakers and consumers alike recognize the urgency of this transition and take bold action? The future of EVs hangs in the balance, and your voice could be the catalyst for change. What do you think? Is the US doing enough to support the EV revolution, or is more needed? Let's spark the conversation in the comments below. EVs pay off their carbon debt in just 2 years. BEV life cycle benefits. Imagine driving a car that not only reduces your carbon footprint but actually pays off its initial environmental impact in just 2 years. That's the promise of battery electric vehicles, BEVs, and the data behind the hype is compelling. Recent studies show that in the US, BEVs produce 41 to 71% fewer greenhouse gas emissions than comparable gasoline cars, depending on how clean the power grid is in your area. This climate advantage is set to grow as the grid becomes increasingly powered by renewables like solar and wind. At first glance, BEVs may seem to carry a higher carbon cost during production, thanks to the intensive process of building batteries. However, this carbon debt is typically repaid within just 2 years of driving, according to life cycle analyses. After that, every mile driven adds to the BEV's advantage over gas cars. And when it comes to urban air quality, BEVs shine, emitting zero tailpipe emissions to improve the air we breathe. The beauty of BEVs lies in their adaptability. Charging emissions vary by location, but in many states, EVs outperform even the most efficient hybrids. As of 2025, over 93% of Americans live in areas where EVs produce fewer emissions than 50-plus mpg hybrids. And the future looks even brighter for BEVs, as the grid becomes cleaner and battery recycling systems expand. Policymakers and drivers alike should take note: the environmental benefits of BEVs are only set to grow as we transition to a more sustainable energy future. But here's where it gets controversial: while the benefits are clear, some argue that the initial manufacturing emissions of BEVs offset their climate advantages. What do you think? Should we be focusing more on improving battery production processes, or is the overall life cycle advantage of BEVs enough to justify their adoption? Let us know in the comments. In conclusion, buying a BEV is more than just choosing a cleaner option. It's choosing a vehicle that gets cleaner every month as the grid decarbonizes. The future of transportation is electric, and it's getting cleaner by the day.